Welcome! In this episode I am focusing on the floor inside the cabin. Before I begin on the floor, I have to empty the cabin and make sure that all the logs of the foundation are clear from any sawdust, ice or snow. It is not the most fun job in the world, but it has to be done. Most of the time when I begin a job like this, I just start and then before you know it, you are in the flow. I start by going around and make all the logs free, and then I will do the inner part. I found this old shovel, which happens to be amazing because it has two handles, and this makes sure that it put less stress on your back, and I was really happy I found it. It might seem a little inefficient scooping the snow 3 or 4 times, but I thought this was the best way. I use this old log dog to get most of the sawdust out of the rocks, so you get the most airflow under your floor. I am building on a sand dune and I have never seen any puddle of water here, so I could not imagine that the sawdust will start rotting, but anyway, it is good to get it out of the way. In the end, it was not so much work as I thought it was, scooping every snow 2 or 3 times. The first time is the hardest time because then it's really stuck and compressed. But the second time it's already going so fast and I had a really big surface on the shovel. I just shoveled 1 row at a time and it went surprisingly well. Here I remove all the ice and snow of the carriers of the floor to make sure that it will all be level. So this is the result. I have everywhere between 40 and 60 centimeters underneath the floor, and yeah, I'm happy with the result. Here I am starting with the floorboards, and that was quite interesting because, well, it's not always easy to reach underneath with the drilling machine. The boards are 9mm plywood for outdoors and they are exactly 80 centimeters wide, which is exact the measurements heart on my floor carriers. On the places where I could not drill straight up with my drilling machine, I used 90-degree metal plates. It was a bit of a hassle holding the plates up with my knee and using my other 2 hands to put the screws in. But it all went well and you don't hear me complain about it. Here you can see a mystery guest who tries to distract me during my work. I always made sure that the custom plates were in the middle so I could reach them more easily. Fun fact, it is actually a couple degrees warmer inside the cabin, and that even without any floor insulation. I don't have any sponsorship with this brand, but I really like these battery powered tools. The last part went in actually surprisingly easy, and that was it. It's already beginning to look like a floor. Of course you cannot walk on this, so I have to be very careful. Now I begin with the rodent net. This is essential when you build a cabin in the forest, and I have already seen lots of mice during the building project. They only sold rolls of 70 centimeter wide, so I had to put one next to it from 15 centimeters, which was a lot more work. I used more than 10,000 staples. That means one staple every centimeter, and also on the places where the boards were touching each other. Because I got the last two beams so close to the wall, I end up with this really narrow space, which also has to be done because when you're insulating things, it is as good as the least insulated place. If I knew this on forehand, I of course had placed the carriers of the floor 70 centimeters apart, but it is what it is. I stapled and stapled and stapled. With this cabin build, there are some parts of the project that you don't really like, but you will always get in the flow, and then it's not as bad as it seems. If I'm being honest, I did feel my knees a little, but I had a chainsaw pants and it helped a lot. I'm really happy with the result and I hope it keeps all the rodents out. Here I start with the paper, which acts as a wind blocker. This needed also custom cutting, but it was not as big as a hassle as with the net. About now I got the idea that it could also be done more efficiently, and I took it outside. The space between the beams of the veranda was really nice to use. Now the floor is ready for the insulation. For the insulation I will use 15 centimeters of natural linen. Here I'm making an extra support part for the stove. Although the floor is strong enough, you can never be too sure and it is a small effort. Now I'll begin with the linen insulation. I'm hoping to get the floor done today, and that has all to do with the rodents. I want it closed. As you can see, all the linen has to be custom fit as well, but it didn't take long for me to realize that the angle grinder was a much better choice than the linen saw. This is the result. I think personally that it looks really satisfying, just as with the roof. Now one final layer of paper and then I can begin with the boards. Because I have a 2 centimeter gap between the boards and the linen insulation, the paper is not as tight as it can be. Welcome on board. I might just make it today. For floorboards I use spruce. They are 3 centimeter thick and 15 centimeters wide. I discovered that the boards were getting curvier and curvier, and I came up with the solution for that. All credits for this solution go to my personal consultant from all the way overseas from the Netherlands, my dad. Here you can see in the middle there is a 1 centimeter gap. So what you do is you nail it down on both sides and then put it into place. Screw this down. And then you just tap it into place. Look at that. Another trick is, if you have trouble with the wood splitting, you put your nail like this. And you're fine, good to go. With this new system, I was able to work much quicker. So why spruce boards? Well, for a couple of reasons. Well, I've made my whole cabin out of spruce. It grows here a lot and it is easy accessible. So when nature provides, but it isn't the best of the best, then you can still choose it. Because I'm not in France anymore and oaks are very rare here. When you treat spruce boards with oil wax, it hardens and it can still have a really long lifespan. All these things together made the choice easy for me to go with spruce. I also thought about fire hardening these boards, a method where you scorch the upside of the boards and then sand them down, which makes the board harder as well. In the end I chose for oil wax, and that's because I have lots of things to do. It's already very late in the evening and my batteries are almost all finished, and here the lamp falls out and I reach to my headlamp. It was light or no power tools, so I was determined to finish the floor, so you have to make do with this. Here I'm cutting the long board over the full length of the board to fit in the final part of the floor. Here I'm sawing the final board, and yeah, I did it. I finished the floor. I'm really happy with the result. I think the floor looks nice, and I have another challenge ahead. Because the temperatures are below zero and the humidity is above 80% because there is still snow inside of the cabin, I cannot apply the wax. So I have to install the stove first. This means that I have to cover the floor first to make sure that the floor doesn't get damaged. In the next episode I will install my stove. Here you can see where the second floor will come. And did you like this video? You know what to do. And until next time.